Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Limitless Life Lessons. Today, we're diving into some truly timeless wisdom, and I couldn't be more excited to have you join us for this very special episode. Now, as you know, this show is all about unlocking the tools, habits, and principles that can help you live a life without limits. And today, today we're in for a real treat. Because joining us is someone who doesn't just talk about success, he's lived it, he's taught it, and he's inspired millions around the world to achieve their best. I'm talking about the one and only, the legendary Jim Rohn. Now, for those who may be new to Jim's work, let me give you a little background. Jim Rohn has been one of the most influential thinkers and motivational speakers of our time, known for his deep insights and practical wisdom. Jim's ideas have transformed the lives of countless people, from young entrepreneurs just starting out to seasoned leaders at the peak of their careers. He's been called the mentor's mentor, a pioneer in personal development, and his ideas are as relevant today as they were decades ago. Jim's philosophy is built on timeless truths. He's known for his powerful quotes like, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, and don't wish it were easier." Wish you were better. These aren't just words, they're life principles that Jim has lived by and taught others to live by. Jim, we're absolutely honored to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your incredible wisdom with all of us.
Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's always humbling to hear those words. And I'm truly grateful to have this opportunity to sit down with you today and connect with all the wonderful listeners who are on their own journey toward growth and success. You know, Matt, one of the most fulfilling parts of my journey has been watching so many people wake up to their potential and take the steps to create a life they're proud of. I believe, and I've always believed, that every single person has something remarkable within them. It's just a matter of discovering it, nurturing it, and believing in it enough to bring it into the world.
I absolutely love that, Jim. And it's true, your words have this way of sparking a fire in people, of helping them see their own potential. Now, as we get started, I want to take our viewers back a bit. You've been in this space for decades, guiding and mentoring others. But I think what makes your story so inspiring is where you came from and the journey that led you to become the legendary speaker, teacher, and mentor you are today. So to kick things off, can you tell us a bit about that journey? Where did it all begin for you, and what were some of the early influences that shaped your philosophy and your path?
Well, Matt, thank you for that question. It's a good one. My journey, like most journeys, didn't start in a place of success or influence. I was born and raised in a small town in Idaho, to hardworking parents who taught me the value of effort and honesty. But you know, growing up, I didn't always have big dreams. I was like most young people, just trying to get by, find my way, and make sense of the world around me. There was a time when I thought that life was about doing what you had to do, not necessarily what you dreamed of doing. I worked odd jobs, took what came my way, and honestly, I struggled. In my 20s, I found myself in a pretty tough place. I was broke, discouraged, and a little bit lost, wondering if there was something more for me. And that's when I had what I call my lucky break. But it wasn't luck in the traditional sense. It was the moment I met my mentor, a man named Earl Schoth. Earl was an entrepreneur, a visionary, and one of the kindest, most insightful men I'd ever met. He didn't just see what I was, he saw what I could become. And for the first time, I felt like someone believed in me, even more than I believed in myself. Earl taught me principles that became the foundation of my philosophy. He taught me that success wasn't something out there that you chase, but rather something you build from within. He taught me that to change my life, I'd have to change myself, that my habits, my mindset, and my discipline would shape my future. And you know, Matt, that realization changed everything for me.
That's incredible, Jim. And I think so many people can relate to that feeling of wanting something more, but not knowing where to start or who to turn to for guidance. Meeting a mentor like Earl must have been life-changing.
It truly was, Matt. Earl became a catalyst in my life. He gave me advice that was practical yet profound. He'd say things like, "Jim, don't just wish for things to be better. Work to become better," and that's a message I've carried with me ever since. I realized that wishing without working wasn't going to get me anywhere. To build a better future, I had to build a better version of myself. And Earl didn't just talk about these principles, he lived them. He showed me that success is really the result of small disciplines repeated over time. It's about choosing the right actions, day in and day out, and letting those actions compound over time.
Jim, you make such a great point. The idea of success being a result of discipline and daily habits, those are things that seem simple but aren't always easy to live by. It sounds like your early journey was a combination of discovering the right mindset and finding someone who could guide you toward it. Kit?
Exactly, Matt. And you know, for everyone watching, I'd say this: you don't have to wait for someone else to change your life. Find the lessons, the principles, and start where you are. It's not about having all the resources or even all the answers. It's about making a commitment to yourself to grow, to improve, and to persist. That's the essence of a limitless life.
Jim, I think that's a powerful message to start with. Start where you are and commit to growth. Thank you for sharing that. It really sets the stage for our conversation today. I know our listeners are eager to hear more about your life lessons and the timeless principles that can help all of us live as a limitless life. So buckle up, folks. We're about to embark on an inspiring journey with Jim Rohn, diving deep into the principles and wisdom that can help you live with purpose, freedom, and resilience. Jim, thank you again for being here, and let's get into it. All right, Jim, let's start by talking about something that I know is central to your philosophy, mindset. You often say that mindset is the foundation of everything, that it's the starting point for any meaningful change in life. Can you tell us why mindset is so powerful and how it influences everything we do?
Absolutely, Matt. You know, mindset really is the bedrock. It's the lens through which we see the world, and that lens determines everything else. The way I see it, there are two basic mindsets that people operate from: a limited mindset and a limitless mindset. Now, a limited mindset is driven by fear, self-doubt, and hesitation. It says, I can't, or that's not for me. But a limitless mindset, that's the belief that says, I am capable, I am growing, I can learn, adapt, and overcome. And it's this mindset, one of growth and possibility, that lays the foundation for a fulfilling and expansive life.
I think everyone has at some point struggled with those limiting thoughts, right? The I can't or the I'm not good enough. How do you shift from that limited perspective to a mindset that sees possibilities rather than obstacles?
That's an important question, Matt. The truth is, for many people, that limited mindset comes from years of conditioning. We're influenced by our surroundings, our families, friends, the media. But here's what I learned early on: while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we interpret it, how we respond to it. And this is where the journey to a limitless mindset begins. The first step to breaking free of a limited mindset is awareness. We have to notice those thoughts and beliefs that are holding us back. For example, I grew up in a modest household, and I used to think that wealth, success, and abundance were for other people, not for me. But I realized, with the help of my mentor, Earl Shoaff, that this was just a story I was telling myself. And once I became aware of it, I could start to rewrite that story.
So awareness is the first step. Noticing those limiting beliefs and stories we tell ourselves. I love that. But once you notice them, what do you do next? How do you actually shift those beliefs?
That's the key, man. The next step is to challenge those beliefs. You see, once I became aware of those limiting thoughts, I didn't just ignore them, I questioned them. Earl once told me, Jim, if you want a better life, start asking better questions. And so I did. I started asking, why not me? Why can't I have success? What would happen if I gave myself permission to dream bigger, to take risks, to fail and learn? When you start questioning the limitations, you realize that many of them don't hold up. They're like paper tigers, intimidating until you look closely and realize they have no real power.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. Those limiting beliefs can feel so real until we start questioning them. But I'm curious, Jim, can you give us a personal example, a time when your mindset made all the difference? When a shift in thinking helped you achieve something you didn't think was possible?
Absolutely, Matt. Let me take you back to my early years, back when I was still working a regular job, living paycheck to paycheck, and just trying to make ends meet. I was in my mid-20s, and honestly, I felt pretty stuck. I thought success was for other people, not for a small town boy like me. But that all changed when I met Earl. Earl didn't just teach me business principles, he taught me life principles. He taught me that my life was the product of my thoughts and actions. And one day he said something that changed my life forever. He said, Jim, if you want to change your life, you have to change your philosophy. Success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by becoming an attractive person. That hit me hard. I realized that success wasn't out there somewhere, it was within me, in my own mindset and beliefs. So I started to change my mindset. I stopped seeing myself as someone who was just scraping by and started seeing myself as someone who was learning, growing, becoming better every day. I began to believe that I was capable of more, that I could have, do, and be anything I set my mind to, as long as I was willing to work for it and grow into it. And that change in mindset, Matt, was the beginning of a transformation that led me to become the person I am today.
That's incredibly powerful, Jim. And it really shows that mindset isn't just about positive thinking, it's about reshaping your whole view of yourself and what's possible for your life. So, for our listeners who might be wondering how to start this journey of transformation, what practical steps would you suggest? How can they begin cultivating a limitless mindset?
Great question, Matt. You know, building a limitless mindset is like building a muscle. It takes consistent daily effort. Here are 3 practical steps I'd suggest for anyone ready to start this journey. Set clear intentions, begin with the end in mind. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? What kind of life do I want to create? Write it down. Get specific. Having a clear vision gives your mind a direction, a purpose, something to aim for. Practice positive self-talk. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself. Words have power. If you're constantly telling yourself, I can't do this or this is too hard, you're reinforcing a limited mindset. Instead, start using empowering language. Tell yourself, I am capable, I am learning, I am becoming over time. These words become beliefs. Take consistent action. Mindset without action is like a car without fuel, it doesn't go anywhere. Once you start shifting your beliefs, you have to back them up with action. Start small if you have to, but do something every day that aligns with your new mindset. Whether it's learning a new skill, working on a project, or simply stepping outside your comfort zone, every small step reinforces your limitless mindset.
I really like those steps, Jim. Set clear intentions, practice positive self-talk, and take consistent action. It makes the whole process feel achievable, even if you're just starting out.
Exactly, Matt. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. It's about making small shifts every day. Over time, those small shifts add up. They compound. That's the beauty of mindset work. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you're consistent, the results can be profound.
Jim, as you're talking, I'm reminded of something you often say, that small changes can lead to exponential improvements. Can you elaborate on that? How does a small shift in mindset translate to big changes in life?
Absolutely, Matt. It's one of my core beliefs. Imagine you're flying a plane. If you change the heading by just a few degrees over time, you end up in a completely different place than where you would have been. Our minds work the same way. A small shift in mindset, choosing to believe that you're capable, or that challenges are opportunities rather than obstacles, can set you on a new trajectory. I've seen people who went from barely getting by to achieving extraordinary success, all because they made that small shift. They stopped saying, I can't, and started asking, how can I? They stopped looking at failure as an end and started seeing it as part of the process. When you adopt this growth-oriented mindset, you open up a world of possibilities. And those small shifts in thinking lead to new actions, new results, and eventually a new life.
That's an incredible way to look at it, Jim. So for everyone listening, it sounds like the takeaway here is that mindset isn't just a small part of the puzzle, it's the foundation. And even a small change in mindset can set you on a path to greatness.
Exactly, Matt. You've summed it up beautifully. A limitless life begins with a limitless mind. So start today. Start small, but start. Commit to growing, to learning, and to expanding your vision of what's possible. I promise you, the results will be worth it.
Jim, now that we've laid the foundation with mindset, I'd like to dive into something I know you're deeply passionate about: personal development and growth. You're famous for saying, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I think that message resonates with so many people. But it also raises some questions. Why is personal development so essential, and what does it really mean to work harder on ourselves?
That's a powerful question, Matt. Personal development, in its truest form, is about cultivating the best version of yourself. It's about nurturing your potential, your skills, your understanding, and ultimately your purpose. You see, if you're only focused on the job, on making a living, you may achieve some level of success, sure. But when you focus on improving yourself, on expanding your knowledge, your skills, and your character, you're building something far more enduring. And here's the kicker: the more you grow, the more valuable you become, not only to your career, but to your relationships, your community, and ultimately to the world. When I say work harder on yourself than you do on your job, it's because I know that the rewards of personal development are exponential. I remember when I first heard this concept from my mentor, Earl Shoaff. I was struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, working just to get by. And Earl told me something that changed my life. He said, Jim, if you work on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work on yourself, you'll make a fortune.
That's a profound idea, Jim. I think a lot of us can relate to that sense of just getting by, but it's a big leap to commit to working on ourselves, especially when the demands of daily life are so pressing. How did you begin that journey? And what advice would you give to those looking to start?
Great question, Matt. And you're absolutely right, life can be demanding, and it's easy to get swept up in the busyness of it all. But here's what I discovered: if you're not investing time in yourself, you're simply treading water. To make that shift, you have to start with a decision. Decide that you're worth the investment. Decide that your future, your dreams, and your potential are worth the time it takes to grow. After my conversation with Earl, I began setting aside time every day for personal growth, and I made a commitment to treat that time with the same importance as any other obligation. For me, that meant reading, listening to audio programs, attending seminars, anything that fed my mind and spirit. And as I began learning, I found myself changing. My thinking expanded, my confidence grew, and I started attracting opportunities I never imagined possible.
That's powerful, Jim. So setting aside dedicated time for growth was really the turning point for you. It's so easy to get caught up in work, family, and all of life's responsibilities. But you're saying that if we treat self-improvement as a non-negotiable, it can change everything. Could you walk us through some of the habits or practices that you found most transformative?
Absolutely, Matt. I think of personal growth as a daily practice, something that builds over time, like compound interest. Here are a few practices that really shaped my journey. Daily reading. I'm a big believer in reading because books contain the distilled wisdom of decades, sometimes even centuries. When I started, I didn't set any lofty goals. I simply committed to reading for 15 minutes a day. Over time, that habit grew, and before I knew it, I was finishing a book every couple of weeks. And remember, it's not about speed, it's about quality. Even a single paragraph, if deeply absorbed, can have a profound impact. Listening to audio programs. In those days, audio tapes were popular, and I would listen to motivational speakers, business leaders, philosophers, anyone who could inspire and educate me. Nowadays, we have podcasts, audiobooks, and other resources right at our fingertips. I encourage people to use their commute, exercise time, or any other in-between moments to listen to something that uplifts them. Seeking mentorship. This is a big one, Matt. Finding a mentor, someone who's walked the path before you, is invaluable. My mentor Earl gave me insights I never would have discovered on my own. If you're fortunate enough to find a mentor, take full advantage of their wisdom. And if you can't find one in person, remember that books, audio programs, and even virtual mentors can still be profoundly impactful. Reflective journaling. This practice helped me process what I was learning. Every night I would jot down what I'd learned, what inspired me, and how I wanted to apply it. This reflection deepened my understanding and helped solidify my commitment to growth.
Those are some excellent practices, Jim. I think the journaling piece is especially interesting because it's not just about consuming information, but really digesting it and making it personal. So for our listeners out there who might be just starting on this path, what would you say is the single most important habit they can start implementing today?
If I had to pick one, Matt, I'd say it's the habit of consistent, small actions. Personal development is not about grand gestures or massive breakthroughs. It's about the small, steady actions you take every single day. Those 15 minutes of reading, that 10-minute journal entry, that short audio clip you listen to on your way to work, all these small actions compound over time. And here's the beauty of it. When you make personal development a daily habit, it eventually becomes who you are. You're no longer trying to grow, you're living it, breathing it. And that consistency, that's where transformation happens.
You know, Jim, I actually started journaling about a year ago after I heard you talk about it in a seminar. I wasn't consistent at first, but over time I started seeing the benefits. It helped me clarify my thoughts, set intentions, and process my experiences in a deeper way. It's really changed how I approach my days.
That's fantastic, Matt. And that's exactly what I mean. When you take these small steps consistently, they add up to something profound. Think of it this way: if you improve by just 1% every day, you'll be more than twice as good by the end of the year. And this concept of compounding growth, it's the foundation of a limitless life. Personal development isn't just about gaining new skills or knowledge, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts success, who is ready to seize opportunities when they come. And that's why I emphasize working on yourself as the most important work you'll ever do. Because as you grow, everything else grows along with you.
That's such a powerful reminder, Jim. And I think one of the things people struggle with is staying committed to growth, especially when progress feels slow or setbacks come along. What advice would you give to someone who's having a hard time sticking with their personal development journey?
That's a great question, Matt. And I think everyone, myself included, has experienced those moments where it feels like we're not making any progress. But here's what I've learned: embrace the journey, not just the destination. Growth isn't a straight line, it's full of twists, turns, and sometimes even setbacks. But every experience, every challenge has something to teach us. And if we stay committed to learning, we're always moving forward. Another piece of advice I'd give is to stay inspired. Surround yourself with reminders of why you started. That's why I emphasize having mentors, reading books, listening to motivational content. All these things feed your spirit, keep the fire alive. And when that fire dims, which it will from time to time, that's okay. That's a part of the process. Just keep going, one small step at a time. Remember, growth is a lifelong commitment. You're not in this to sprint, you're in this for the marathon. And every day, you're laying down the bricks of a strong, purposeful life. So don't rush the process. Celebrate the small wins, learn from the setbacks, and trust that as long as you keep showing up, you're moving in the right direction.
That's incredibly inspiring, Jim. And I think it's a message that so many people need to hear, especially today. Personal growth isn't about perfection, it's about progress, about resilience. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Matt. It's been an honor to share this with you and your audience. Remember, the journey of growth is the most rewarding journey there is.
Jim, as we've been talking about growth and personal development, one thing that always comes up no matter who you are or what you're pursuing is failure. So many people struggle with setbacks, with the fear of failing, and with the frustration that comes when things just don't work out as planned. I know you faced your share of setbacks, and I'd love for us to talk about how you turn those experiences into growth. How did failure shape your journey?
Matt, that's a very important topic and one that's close to my heart. Failure. Well, I used to see it as the end of the line. When I was younger, before I met my mentor, Earl Shoaff, I believed that failure was something to avoid at all costs. I thought it was a reflection of my worth, my abilities, and my future. But what Earl taught me and what life showed me repeatedly is that failure is not a dead end. It's actually one of the best teachers you'll ever have. There was a time in my life, Matt, when I lost everything. I had no money in the bank, bills piling up, and a family to support. I was defeated, discouraged, and honestly, I thought that was the end for me. But then I started to look at failure differently. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? I started asking, what can I learn from this? What is this experience trying to teach me? That shift from being a victim of failure to becoming a student of it was transformative.
Jim, that's so relatable. I think everyone has had those moments where they feel like they've hit rock bottom. It's easy to feel defeated, to think maybe I'm not cut out for this. How did you change your mindset to see failure as a stepping stone rather than an obstacle?
It's a process, Matt. It didn't happen overnight. But here's what I realized: failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. Every successful person I've met has a story of failure that was crucial to their journey. You see, failure is what introduces us to resilience. It's like resistance training for your character. Each setback gives you an opportunity to develop grit, to toughen up, and to keep going when things get difficult. I began to look at failure as feedback, not as a final judgment. When things didn't go my way, instead of letting it crush me, I started asking, what can I do differently next time? I kept a journal, and after every major setback, I would sit down, reflect on what happened, and write down the lessons I learned. In that way, failure became a resource, not a roadblock.
That's such an empowering perspective, Jim. So many people, myself included, have felt overwhelmed by setbacks, and that sense of failure can make it hard to keep going. But what you're saying is that these experiences, painful as they may be, can become valuable assets if we're willing to learn from them. Were there any specific failures that were particularly formative for you?
Oh, many, Matt. I could write a book on my failures alone. But one that really stands out happened early in my career. I was new to sales and I was struggling. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't seem to close any deals. I was going from door to door, making cold calls, and constantly facing rejection. At one point, I was ready to give up. I remember thinking, maybe I'm just not cut out for this, but then I thought about what Earl taught me about looking at failure as feedback. I realized that I needed to change my approach, not my goal. Instead of giving up, I decided to study the best salespeople in the business. I watched what they did, how they spoke, and the way they connected with people. And you know what? It didn't happen overnight, but gradually. I started to improve. I learned that my setbacks were simply feedback on what I needed to adjust. And eventually, those lessons paid off in ways I never could have imagined.
That's such a powerful story, Jim. I think it speaks to the importance of persistence and adaptability. Sometimes when we're stuck in the midst of a failure, it feels like there's no way out. But your story shows that if we're willing to adjust, if we're willing to keep learning, there's always a path forward. How do you build that resilience to keep going when things get tough?
Resilience is a skill, Matt. It's like a muscle, you have to build it up, one experience at a time. One of the things I did, and still do, is to keep my vision front and center. I remind myself of the why behind my efforts. When you have a clear vision, when you know why you're doing something, it gives you the fuel to keep going, even when the journey gets rough. I also believe in the power of small wins. When you're in the middle of a challenging time, focusing on small victories can be incredibly motivating. Celebrate each step forward, even if it's small. These little successes build momentum, and that momentum can carry you through the tough times.
I think that's so important, Jim. Celebrating those small wins helps us feel like we're making progress, even if we're not at the finish line yet. But I know a lot of people struggle with the fear of failure itself. They're so afraid of making mistakes that they end up not trying at all. What would you say to someone who feels paralyzed by the fear of failure?
Fear of failure is natural, Matt. It's something we all experience, but here's what I've learned: the fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. When you take a step and things don't go as planned, you gain information, you grow, you learn. But when you let fear stop you from acting, you remain stagnant. The worst thing you can do is let the fear of failure keep you from even trying. Here's a little trick that helped me. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on what you can gain from the experience, regardless of the outcome. Every attempt, successful or not, teaches you something. And remember, even if you stumble, you're still moving forward. You're still better off than if you had done nothing.
That's such a valuable perspective, Jim. It's like reframing failure itself. If we can view each setback as a learning opportunity, it becomes less intimidating and more empowering. What practical steps would you suggest for people who want to start building resilience in their daily lives?
Great question, Matt. Here are a few steps that can help anyone build resilience. Set small, achievable goals. Break down your big goals into smaller, manageable steps. Each small achievement builds confidence and resilience. Develop a routine for growth, whether it's reading, journaling, or reflecting on your day. Have a daily practice that reminds you of your progress. Routines are like an anchor during turbulent times. Practice reframing. Train yourself to see setbacks as feedback. Ask, what is this teaching me, instead of dwelling on what went wrong. This subtle shift changes everything. Surround yourself with positivity. People who support you and encourage you to keep going can make a huge difference. Seek out those who inspire resilience and growth. Celebrate every step forward, even if it's a tiny victory. Acknowledge it. Resilience is built one small win at a time. And remember, Matt, resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being adaptable, about bending without breaking. Life will challenge you, count on it. But when you build resilience, you're equipping yourself to face those challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
Those are such practical, actionable steps, Jim. I think anyone listening today can take at least one of those steps and start applying it immediately. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when we think about resilience as this big, daunting trait. But breaking it down into daily actions makes it much more approachable.
Exactly, Matt. Resilience isn't built in a day, it's built in the moments, in the choices we make every day. When we choose to keep going, to learn from our mistakes, to see failure as part of the journey, we're building a kind of strength that will carry us through anything life throws our way.
Jim, thank you for sharing so much wisdom on this topic. I think it's something everyone can relate to, and hearing it from someone who has lived through these experiences is incredibly inspiring. Thank you for being so open with us.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure to share. And to everyone listening, remember, failure is a part of success. Embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward.
Jim, one of the concepts you're known for, and something you've really helped shape for millions of people, is goal setting. You've often described goals as the map that guides us through life. But setting goals that really work and having the discipline to follow through is challenging for a lot of people. Can you share your philosophy on why goal setting is so important and how it fits into building a limitless life?
Matt, you're absolutely right. Goal setting is the foundation, the blueprint. Without goals, you're like a ship without a rudder, just drifting through life, reacting to whatever comes your way. Goals give you direction. They keep you on track. But it's not just about having a general idea of what you want. It's about being specific, being clear, and knowing precisely where you're going. I like to say that goals turn dreams into destinations. When I was young, I had a lot of ambition but no clear direction. I wanted to be successful, but that's as far as my thinking went, just wanting it. My mentor, Earl Shoaff, helped me understand that wanting wasn't enough. He told me, Jim, you've got to have a plan. Success is something you plan for, not something that just happens to you. That advice changed my life. He taught me that by setting specific goals, you create a roadmap, and with that roadmap, you can measure your progress, see where you're going, and keep yourself accountable.
That's so powerful, Jim. I think a lot of people do have dreams or general ideas of success, but without specifics, it's hard to take concrete action. Could you explain a bit more about what makes a goal effective? What separates a good goal from a wish or a vague intention?
Great question, Matt. Here's the key. A good goal is clear, specific, and measurable. It's something you can quantify, something that has a timeline and a target. For example, saying, I want to get in better shape is a nice thought, but it's not a goal. A goal would be, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months by exercising 3 times a week and eating healthy. See the difference? One is just an idea, the other is a specific, measurable, and actionable plan. Clarity is critical, because the more precise you are about what you want, the easier it becomes to break that goal down into steps. When you set a goal, imagine every detail, what it will look like, feel like, the changes it will bring into your life. The clearer you are, the more powerful your motivation will be, and the easier it becomes to visualize success. And visualization, well, that's a powerful tool in itself.
I love that, Jim. Let's talk about visualization. It's a concept we hear a lot about these days, but it can feel abstract to people who are just getting started with it. Can you share how visualization fits into the goal-setting process and why it's so effective?
Absolutely, Matt. Visualization is the art of seeing your goal as if it's already achieved. It's not just daydreaming, it's a deliberate process of creating a vivid mental image of your desired outcome. Earl taught me this technique, and it's something I've practiced throughout my life. Visualization works because the mind can't distinguish between something vividly imagined and something real. When you visualize your goals with clarity, it activates your subconscious, aligns your actions, and builds your confidence. Let me give you a practical example. Early in my career, I set a goal to become financially independent. I didn't just say, I want to be successful. I made a clear picture in my mind of what that looked like: having a certain amount saved, living in a comfortable home, being able to give back to my community. Every morning and every evening, I'd spend a few minutes visualizing that life. I saw myself in that home. I imagined the freedom that came with financial independence, and I felt the gratitude as if it had already happened.
So in a way, you were living that goal before you even achieved it.
Exactly, Matt. Visualization isn't magic, but it's a way to prepare your mind and build the belief that what you're striving for is possible. When you can see yourself achieving your goal, you start to believe that it's within reach. And that belief changes everything. It changes your attitude, your energy, and even the actions you take daily. It creates a sense of inevitability, like, of course this will happen, because I've already seen it, and that kind of confidence is invaluable.
Jim, that's such a clear and inspiring way to look at visualization. I think it's something everyone can try, but I know that staying committed to a goal, especially when challenges come up, can be tough. How do you recommend people stay focused on their goals, especially when things get difficult?
Staying committed is one of the biggest challenges, Matt, but it's also where true growth happens. One technique that has always worked for me is breaking down a big goal into smaller, manageable steps. If you have a goal to lose 20 pounds, for instance, don't just focus on the 20 pounds. Focus on the daily actions that will get you there: exercising, eating healthy meals, getting enough rest. Celebrate each step along the way, because each small win keeps you motivated and reinforces the belief that you're making progress. I also recommend keeping a journal. Write down your goals, but more importantly, track your progress. Note every small win, every effort, and even the setbacks. When you see your progress in writing, it gives you a sense of momentum. Even on days when it feels like you're moving slowly, you can look back and see how far you've come.
I love the idea of tracking progress. I think that's a powerful way to stay motivated and to keep your eye on the bigger picture. But let's be honest, life can throw curveballs. There are times when people lose focus, get discouraged, or even feel like giving up on their goals. What would you say to someone who's struggling to stay committed?
That's a great question, Matt. Life will always test our commitment. It's part of the journey. When you feel like giving up, revisit the reasons why you set that goal in the first place. Remind yourself of the why behind your goal. Why did you start? What will achieving this mean for you and for those you love? Sometimes reconnecting with that deeper purpose reignites the motivation to keep going. And here's another thing: don't be afraid to adjust your goals. Sometimes our circumstances change. or we learn things along the way that might shift our direction. Adjusting your goals isn't the same as giving up. It's about staying true to your vision while being flexible in your approach. Adapt, but don't abandon. Remember, persistence doesn't mean doing the same thing over and over. It means staying committed to the result, even if you have to find a new path to get there.
Jim, that's such a great point. I think a lot of people feel like they have to stick to a rigid plan to be successful, but you're saying it's okay to change the approach as long as you're moving toward the end goal.
Exactly, Matt. Think of it like driving to a destination. If you come across roadblocks, you don't abandon the trip, you just find a different route. Goals are the same. The destination remains. But sometimes the path changes. Flexibility in the journey with unwavering commitment to the destination, that's the balance.
This is fantastic advice, Jim. Let's recap for our listeners because there's so much valuable information here. First, set clear, specific, and measurable goals. Then practice visualization to see and feel the success as if it's already real. Break down big goals into small steps. Track your progress and adapt as needed. Finally, stay connected to your why to keep the motivation alive. Anything else you'd add?
One last thing, Matt. Remember to enjoy the journey. Goal setting isn't just about achieving something at the end, it's about who you become along the way. Every challenge, every step forward, every lesson learned is shaping you, making you stronger, wiser, and more capable. The journey itself is the true reward.
Jim, thank you for that reminder. It's such a profound way to look at life. So often we get caught up in the destination and forget to appreciate the process. Your perspective really resonates. It's about the growth and the experiences that come with every goal we set.
Absolutely, Matt. When you focus on the journey, you'll find joy in every moment, whether you're facing a setback or celebrating a small victory. Each experience adds to your story. Embrace it all.
You know, I think that's an essential mindset shift for many people. The pressure to reach certain milestones can be overwhelming, and often we overlook the lessons hidden in our day-to-day experiences. Your journey teaches us that the path is just as important as the destination.
Exactly. And when you enjoy the journey, you also cultivate resilience. You learn to bounce back from disappointments, find strength in your struggles, and celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Each step is a building block for who you're becoming.
That's so true. And as we wrap up this podcast, I can't help but reflect on how much we've learned from your journey today. Your stories and insights inspire us to live fully, strive for greatness, and appreciate every moment. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, Jim.
My pleasure, Matt. It's been a joy to share this time with you and your audience. Let's all commit to not only setting goals, but also savoring the journey that comes with them.
To everyone watching, thank you for joining us. Remember, as Jim said, it's not just about where you're going, but who you become along the way. Take a moment today to reflect on your journey and find joy in the process. Until next time, keep striving for that limitless life, and we'll see you soon. Jim, in every conversation about personal development, financial independence plays a big role. Money is such a sensitive topic, but it's essential for creating the kind of freedom that allows people to live on their own terms. I know this is something you're passionate about, and I'd love for us to dive into some of the financial wisdom you've gained over the years. Can we start with the basics? What would you say is the foundation of a sound financial life?
Absolutely, Matt. You know, financial wisdom is one of the most empowering areas of life because it directly impacts our freedom and our ability to make choices. And yes, there are some fundamental principles that can set anyone on the right path. The first and perhaps most important principle I'd share is this: live within your means. It's simple but so powerful. No matter how much money you make, if you're spending more than you earn, you're digging a hole that will be hard to get out of. Living within your means is about self-discipline and self-control. When I was starting out, I didn't have much, but I learned to save, to set a budget, and to make careful choices with what I had. It wasn't glamorous, but it was effective. And that discipline helped me develop habits that served me well, even as my income grew.
That's such a timeless principle, Jim, and I think it's one people tend to overlook, especially in a world where we're constantly encouraged to buy, upgrade, and live large. But living within your means isn't just about limiting yourself. Is it? Isn't it also about creating space for future opportunities?
Exactly, Matt. By living within your means, you're giving yourself room to build for the future. When you're not constantly in debt or living paycheck to paycheck, you have flexibility. You're able to save, to invest, and to seize opportunities when they come. Financial freedom isn't about having millions of dollars, it's about having options, having a sense of security, and being in control of your life. Let me tell you a little story. When I first got started, I didn't have much in the bank, but I made it a habit to save a portion of everything I earned. Earl Schultz, my mentor, taught me the 701010110 principle. He said, Jim, of every dollar you earn, learn to live on 70%. Then allocate the rest wisely, 10% for charity, 10% for active investing, and 10% for savings. That simple breakdown gave me a framework that helped me create security, give back, and invest in my future.
I love that approach, Jim. So practical, and it really gives people a clear way to handle their money in a balanced way. I know you mentioned saving and investing. Could you talk a bit about how people can start building wealth, even if they're starting with small amounts?
Of course, Matt. Building wealth doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't require a huge income to start. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they have to wait until they have extra money to invest. The truth is, wealth building starts with consistency and discipline, not the amount you invest. Think of it like planting seeds. Even small investments made consistently will grow over time. Compound interest is a powerful force, and when you start early, even small contributions will add up significantly over the years. For example, if you put away just a small amount every month into an index fund or retirement account, you're building a foundation. That money will work for you over time, and one day it will be a significant source of wealth.
That's such an empowering way to look at it, Jim. I think sometimes people get discouraged because they don't see immediate results. Could you share how you stayed motivated in your own financial journey, especially in the early days when progress might have felt slow?
That's a great question, Matt. And it's true, progress in wealth building can feel slow at first. But here's the thing, wealth isn't just about the destination, it's about the habits and the person you become along the way. In those early years, I stayed motivated by focusing on my vision. I wasn't just saving money, I was creating freedom, building security, and working toward a life where I could make my own choices. One of the things Earl taught me was to keep my eye on the long-term goal, not just the immediate gratification. He would say, Jim, discipline yourself to delay gratification. Every dollar you save and invest is a dollar that will work for you in the future. And you know what? He was right. Over time, that discipline created freedom and opportunities I couldn't have imagined when I first started out.
That's so powerful, Jim. So you're saying that building wealth is less about hitting a specific number and more about the habits you develop and the mindset you carry forward.
Exactly, Matt. Wealth building is about developing a mindset of stewardship and consistency. It's about making wise choices, delaying gratification, and letting your money work for you over time. When you think this way, you'll realize that the habits you build saving, investing, and living within your means are the real wealth. The money is just a reflection of the discipline and the freedom you've created.
I think a lot of people could benefit from hearing that, especially those who might be intimidated by the idea of wealth building. Can you talk a bit about financial literacy, Jim? How important is it to understand the basics of money management? And where should people start if they feel overwhelmed?
Financial literacy is essential, Matt. It's the foundation that helps you make informed choices and avoid costly mistakes. I always tell people, if you don't understand money, it will work against you. But if you take the time to learn, it will work for you, and the good news is that anyone can start, no matter their background or income level. Here's where to start first. Learn the basics of budgeting and debt management. Understand where your money is going each month and create a plan to pay off high-interest debt. Debt can be a heavy burden, and eliminating it frees up your resources to save and invest. Once you're managing your expenses and avoiding unnecessary debt, you can focus on building an emergency fund, a cushion that will give you peace of mind and stability. And then start learning about investments. Understand the difference between assets and liabilities, learn how compound interest works, and start small if you need to. A great place to begin is by reading books or listening to financial podcasts. And remember, you don't have to be an expert to start investing. There are many low-cost options, like index funds, that are beginner-friendly and have long-term potential.
That's such practical advice, Jim. It sounds like the key is to keep things simple and build a strong foundation before moving into more advanced financial strategies.
Absolutely, Matt. Simplicity and consistency are your best friends when it comes to financial success. Too often, people get caught up in complex strategies before they've built the basics. But wealth is rarely about complicated tactics. It's about good habits, clear goals, and a commitment to lifelong learning. The more you learn, the more confident you become, and the better choices you can make.
Jim, I think you've given our listeners a powerful toolkit for building financial freedom. But for those who are just starting, the journey can feel overwhelming. Any final words of wisdom on how to stay motivated and on track with financial goals?
Of course, Matt. Here's the thing, don't focus on the entire mountain, focus on the first step. Every financial goal, no matter how big, begins with small, consistent actions. Every dollar you save, every good choice you make brings you closer to freedom. Celebrate those small victories. Stay disciplined and keep your eye on the long-term vision. Financial success is built one choice at a time. And remember, Matt, the journey is worth it. Financial freedom isn't about wealth for wealth's sake. It's about creating a life where you can give back, where you're not bound by circumstances, and where you have the freedom to pursue your dreams. Start today, stay committed, and trust that your efforts will compound over time. That's the power of financial wisdom.
Thank you, Jim. This has been so enlightening and empowering. I know our viewers will find value in everything you've shared today. Let's all remember financial freedom starts with simple, consistent steps, and it's achievable for everyone who's willing to make the commitment. Jim, we've talked a lot about mindset growth and financial freedom, but one thing that's just as important is the people we surround ourselves with. They say we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I know relationships have been crucial in your own journey. Can you share with us the impact that relationships have had on your life and how others can leverage them for growth?
Absolutely, Matt. Relationships are so much more powerful than we often realize. I wouldn't be where I am today without the people who supported me, challenged me, and helped me see the world in new ways. You know, I remember early on in my career, I met my mentor, Earl Shaw. Earl wasn't just a teacher, he was someone who genuinely cared about my progress. He gave me guidance, held me accountable, and most importantly, he believed in my potential even when I didn't. Earl taught me that surrounding yourself with the right people isn't just about networking or making connections. It's about finding those who genuinely want to see you succeed and are willing to push you, even when it's uncomfortable. We need people who challenge us to become the best versions of ourselves.
That's powerful, Jim. It sounds like Earl's influence went way beyond just professional advice. He helped you see what you were capable of, and that's something we could all benefit from. But for those who might be starting out or maybe feel a bit isolated, how do you go about finding and building those supportive relationships?
Great question, Matt. Finding meaningful relationships and supportive networks starts with intention. First, you have to know what you're looking for and be open to building connections that align with your values and goals. For example, I was looking to grow and improve myself. So I gravitated toward people who could guide me, people who had walked the path I wanted to be on. The key is to be intentional and purposeful about the relationships you cultivate. When you're looking to build a network, focus on people who share similar values: integrity, growth, kindness, resilience. These aren't just professional connections, they're people who can inspire you, hold you accountable, and offer support when you need it.
That makes a lot of sense, Jim. So it's not just about networking for the sake of networking, it's about building meaningful connections. Can you talk a bit about how you identify those qualities in others? I think for many people, it can be hard to know who's truly supportive versus those who might not have the best intentions.
Absolutely, Matt. Identifying quality relationships comes down to observation and patience. I always look for a few key signs in people I want to connect with. First, I pay attention to how they treat others. Kindness and respect are non-negotiable. Second, I notice if they're genuinely interested in my growth or if they're just focused on what they can gain. Real supporters aren't threatened by your success, they celebrate it. Another thing to look for is consistency. Someone who is genuinely invested in you will be there over the long term, not just during your high points. They'll offer encouragement, constructive feedback, and they'll be honest with you even if it's not always what you want to hear.
That's so true, Jim. I think people sometimes shy away from those who are honest or give constructive feedback, but those are often the relationships that help us grow the most. Do you have any advice on how to maintain and nurture these valuable connections over time?
Yes, Matt, nurturing relationships is just as important as building them. One of the best ways to maintain strong connections is through gratitude and reciprocity. Show appreciation for the people in your life, acknowledge the role they play, and be there for them in return. Relationships are a two-way street, and the more you invest in others, the stronger the bond will become. I remember there were times in my life when things weren't going well and I was frustrated or even discouraged. My mentors, friends, and family were there for me. And when they needed me, I made it a priority to be there for them too. These moments of support, both given and received, create trust and loyalty that lasts a lifetime.
That's amazing, Jim. You're reminding us that relationships require effort and presence, especially during tough times. Can we talk a bit about networking too for some people? Networking can feel intimidating or even a bit transactional. How do you approach networking in a way that makes it more authentic and less forced?
Networking, when done right, is really just an extension of building relationships, Matt. It shouldn't feel forced or like a transaction. I always tell people, be genuinely interested in others. When you're truly curious and invested in learning about others, networking becomes natural. The best way to approach networking is by focusing on giving rather than getting. Offer value, help others without expecting anything in return, and show genuine interest in their stories, goals, and challenges. This approach not only makes networking feel more authentic, but it also sets you apart. People remember those who listen, care, and contribute without looking for a return.
I love that, Jim. So it's really about showing up as your true self, being interested in others, and adding value to their lives. I think people will find that very refreshing. But let's say you're building your network and surrounding yourself with supportive people. How do you deal with relationships that might not be so positive sometimes? We have people in our lives who aren't necessarily lifting us up.
Great point, Matt. Not every relationship is going to be positive, and it's important to recognize that some connections may hold you back more than they help you. When you find yourself in a relationship that feels draining or even toxic, it's time to evaluate it honestly. I believe in kindness and compassion, but I also believe in protecting your energy and your goals. If someone is consistently negative or doesn't support your growth, you may need to create boundaries or, in some cases, even distance yourself from them. Remember, the people you surround yourself with will influence your mindset, your choices, and ultimately your success.
That's such important advice, Jim. It can be hard to distance ourselves from people, especially if we've known them a long time. But it sounds like it's about putting your own growth and well-being first. One last question. What would you say to someone who feels like they don't have those kinds of supportive relationships yet? Where can they start?
Great question, Matt. And I know a lot of people feel that way, especially when they're just starting their personal development journey. If you feel isolated or without support, remember that everyone starts somewhere. Begin by seeking communities or groups aligned with your interests, whether it's online communities, local events, or professional meetups. And don't be afraid to reach out and initiate conversations. Introduce yourself to people you admire, ask questions, and be open to learning. Authentic connections take time to build, but they're worth the effort. And when you approach relationships with a mindset of giving, you'll naturally attract people who are supportive and aligned with your vision.
Thank you, Jim. I think everyone listening can take something away from this conversation. You've reminded us of the power of building genuine connections and surrounding ourselves with people who support and inspire us. It's something we can all work on starting today.
Thank you, Matt. Remember, relationships are a gift. The right people will not only lift you up, but also challenge you to become the best version of yourself. Invest in those relationships, and they'll be one of the greatest assets you'll ever have.
Jim, we've covered so much today about growth, mindset, relationships, and wealth. But one thing that I feel is often overlooked in the world of personal development is health. It's easy to get caught up in ambitions and goals, but if we're not healthy, it's hard to achieve anything else. How does health play a role in achieving success in your view?
Matt, that's a fantastic question, and you're absolutely right. Health really is the foundation for everything else. If you don't have the physical and mental vitality to pursue your goals, all those ambitions start to mean a lot less. You know, when I was younger, I didn't always prioritize my health. I was so focused on building a career and financial security that it took me a while to realize how vital it was to take care of myself. Over time, I came to see that health isn't just about feeling good, it's about being able to perform at your best, to think clearly, and to bring energy and focus into every area of life. When we invest in our health, we're essentially investing in our productivity, our relationships, and our ability to pursue our dreams.
That's such a valuable perspective, Jim. For many people, though, the idea of taking care of their health can feel overwhelming, especially when they're already balancing so many responsibilities. Do you have any simple habits or practices that you recommend for maintaining health and vitality without feeling like it's a burden?
Absolutely, Matt. I'm a big believer in making health habits simple and sustainable. Start small and focus on consistency rather than intensity. Here are a few basic practices that have made a big difference for me over the years. First, move your body every day. It doesn't have to be a grueling workout. Just get up, stretch, walk, do something active to keep your body in motion. Physical movement boosts your energy, improves your mood, and keeps you feeling alive and engaged. Second, prioritize sleep. I can't emphasize this enough. In our hustle culture, sleep is often sacrificed, but it's crucial. A good night's sleep allows your body to repair, your mind to reset, and gives you the clarity you need to tackle each day. It's amazing what a difference sleep makes to productivity and mental well-being. Third, fuel your body with nourishing foods. You don't need to follow extreme diets, but try to eat foods that energize you and make you feel good. Lots of vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. A balanced diet helps keep your energy levels stable throughout the day and prevents those crashes that make it hard to stay focused.
Those are really practical tips, Jim. Move daily, get good sleep, and eat well. It sounds doable when you break it down like that. But I'm curious, how do you balance health with ambition? So many people feel like they have to sacrifice one for the other. Especially if they're building a business or working on a big project. How do you manage that balance?
That's a great question, Matt, and I think it's something a lot of ambitious people struggle with. The key is realizing that health and ambition aren't opposing forces. In fact, they fuel each other. When I started focusing more on my health, I actually became more productive. I had more energy to work on my projects, more mental clarity to solve problems, and more resilience to deal with setbacks. Think of health as the foundation upon which you build your success. You wouldn't build a house on a shaky foundation, right? The same goes for building a life. By prioritizing health, you're setting yourself up for sustainable success, not just short-term wins. Health isn't something you have to do instead of work, it's something that supports your work.
That's such a powerful way to look at it, Jim. I think reframing health as something that supports your ambition can really change people's approach to it. And what about mental health? You mentioned clarity and resilience, which are so important for staying on track. What practices do you find most helpful for maintaining mental wellness?
Jim. Absolutely, Matt. Mental health is just as important as physical health, and they're deeply interconnected. One practice I find incredibly helpful is mindfulness, just taking a few minutes each day to slow down, breathe, and clear my mind. It could be as simple as 5 minutes in the morning, just focusing on your breath and setting an intention for the day. Another practice I value is gratitude. When we take time each day to reflect on what we're thankful for, it shifts our perspective. Instead of focusing on what we lack or what's going wrong, we start to see the abundance in our lives. This simple practice has a huge impact on mental health because it fosters a positive mindset, reduces stress, and brings a sense of peace.
Mindfulness and gratitude, those are two practices anyone can start right away. It's amazing how these small shifts can have such a big impact. I can see how they contribute not only to a healthier mindset, but also to resilience, which is something every ambitious person needs.
Absolutely, Matt. Resilience is like a muscle, you have to build it over time. When you take care of your physical and mental health, you're naturally strengthening your resilience. Life will always have its challenges, but if you're healthy and grounded, you can face those challenges with clarity and strength. There were times in my career when things didn't go as planned, when I faced setbacks or disappointments. But because I took care of my health, I had the resilience to keep going, to learn from those experiences, and to come back even stronger. Health isn't just about longevity. It's about being able to show up fully in every area of your life.
Thank you, Jim. That's so inspiring. Health really is about showing up fully, isn't it? It's about having the energy, the clarity, and the resilience to keep pursuing our goals and dreams. I think our audience will take a lot away from this, knowing that health isn't a sacrifice, but a key part of achieving lasting success.
Absolutely, Matt. Health is a gift we give ourselves, and it pays dividends in every area of life. For anyone listening, remember that small daily habits are powerful. Start with what you can manage, just a few minutes of movement, a little extra sleep, or even a moment of gratitude. These small steps add up, and over time, they can transform your life.
That's such a great message to end this segment on, Jim. Thank you for reminding us that health is the foundation for a life of achievement and fulfillment. I think you've given everyone some valuable, practical advice to get started on building a healthier, more productive life.
Thank you, Matt. Remember, success is about balance. The better we take care of ourselves, the better we can show up for our goals, our loved ones, and our dreams. Health is the greatest wealth, and when we prioritize it, everything else starts to fall into place.
Jim, we've talked about some powerful concepts today: mindset, resilience, goal setting, health, and relationships. But one theme I keep hearing from you is this idea of gratitude, of being truly thankful for what we have. In today's world where everyone seems to be striving for more, where does gratitude fit in?
Matt, gratitude now, that's one of life's greatest gifts. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's a way of seeing the world, of living with a sense of abundance. I believe that gratitude enhances the quality of life, and it's essential for anyone who wants to live fully. You know, there was a time in my life when I was so focused on what I didn't have, on what I needed to achieve, that I forgot to appreciate what I already had. When I began practicing gratitude, something remarkable happened. It shifted my perspective entirely. Instead of feeling like I was always chasing something just out of reach, I began to notice all the blessings I already had. It changed my outlook and ultimately, the way I approached my goals and relationships.
That's such a beautiful perspective, Jim. I think a lot of people feel that gratitude will make them complacent, that if they're too grateful for what they have, they'll lose their drive. What would you say to someone who feels that way?
Matt, I've heard that before, and it's a common misconception. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop striving, it means you start from a place of fullness, not emptiness. It's not about saying, I have enough, so I'll just sit back now. No. It's about acknowledging the value of what you already have while still moving forward with your goals. Think of it like this: when you're grateful, you're building on a foundation of appreciation and joy. You're not chasing success to fill a void, you're adding to a life that's already rich. When you approach life with gratitude, every achievement becomes a bonus, a way to enhance what's already beautiful. It gives you a sense of peace and satisfaction that makes the journey itself worthwhile.
That's incredibly insightful, Jim. Gratitude is a foundation. It sounds like it transforms the way we pursue our dreams. How did you make gratitude a regular part of your life? Was there a specific practice that helped you develop this outlook?
Absolutely, Matt. For me, gratitude is something that needs to be cultivated daily. It's a habit, just like any other. One practice I found powerful was keeping a gratitude journal. Each morning, I'd write down 3 things I was grateful for. Sometimes they were big things: a successful business endeavor, a close friend. Other times they were simple: the warmth of a cup of coffee, a beautiful sunrise, the feeling of a good night's sleep. The act of writing it down helps anchor it in your mind. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already here. And what you focus on grows. When you take a few minutes to acknowledge the goodness in your life, you start seeing more of it everywhere. That habit alone has given me such peace and a sense of fulfillment that I didn't have before.
I love that, Jim, a gratitude journal. It's such a simple idea, but sounds so profound. I think sometimes we overlook these small practices because they seem too easy or too basic. But from what you're saying, these simple acts can have a big impact over time.
Exactly, Matt. Sometimes it's the simplest practices that are the most powerful. And it doesn't have to take much time. Just a few minutes in the morning or before bed can make a world of difference. The beauty of gratitude is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need any special tools. Just the willingness to look at life with a sense of appreciation. Gratitude also brings us back to humility. When you're truly grateful, you recognize that so much of what you have is the result of others' efforts, of circumstances beyond your control. It humbles you in the best way, reminding you that life is a gift, not something to be taken for granted.
That's so true. Gratitude and humility seem to go hand in hand. You've achieved so much, Jim, yet you always carry yourself with such humility. How do you stay grounded, especially when you've reached levels of success that could easily make someone feel, well, invincible?
Thank you, Matt. I believe that humility is essential for a meaningful life. No matter what we accomplish, we're all human, we're all learning, growing, and evolving. I remind myself that success doesn't make me better than anyone else, it just gives me a greater responsibility to give back, to share what I've learned. And humility keeps you open. It allows you to continue learning, to acknowledge that there's always more to discover. I've been fortunate, yes, but I didn't do it all on my own. I had mentors, colleagues, friends, and family who supported me, who shared their wisdom and encouragement. Acknowledging that keeps me grounded. When we realize that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, it's easier to stay humble, to keep learning, and to give credit where it's due.
That's such a powerful mindset, Jim. Staying humble by remembering the contributions of others, it's something we can all apply no matter where we are in life. And it seems like gratitude naturally leads to that perspective, doesn't it? When we're grateful, we're more likely to see the value in other people's contributions.
Absolutely, Matt. Gratitude and humility are interconnected. When we're grateful, we naturally become more generous, more compassionate, and more aware of others' value. Gratitude opens the heart, and humility keeps it open. It reminds us that no matter how much we achieve, we're always connected to others in profound ways. And when you live with gratitude, life itself becomes richer. The small moments take on more meaning, the relationships deepen, and you find joy in things that money or success alone can't buy. That's the real treasure of gratitude. It enriches our experience of life and keeps us connected to what truly matters.
Thank you, Jim. I think a lot of people need to hear this. With so much focus on ambition, it's easy to lose sight of the importance of gratitude and humility. You've given us a beautiful reminder today for everyone watching. What's one thing they can do right now to bring more gratitude and humility into their lives?
Start small. Take a few moments tonight or tomorrow morning to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. Write them down, say them out loud, or just hold them in your mind for a moment. It could be the roof over your head, the people you love, or even a lesson learned from a tough day. And don't just stop there. Make it a habit, and watch how it changes your perspective, your relationships, and ultimately your life.
Jim, thank you so much for sharing these insights. I know I'll be taking these lessons to heart, and I'm sure our audience will too. Gratitude. Humility, they're not just words, they're principles that can transform how we live and approach everything we do. It's been an honor to hear your wisdom today.
Thank you, Matt. Remember, life is a gift. When we live with gratitude and humility, we truly honor that gift. And the beauty is, it's available to all of us every single day.
As we approach the end of today's conversation, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible insights we've gained from Jim. Jim, thank you for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us. It's clear that the principles we discussed can transform lives in profound ways.
Let's recap some of the key lessons we've learned today. We started with the power of mindset, understanding how our thoughts shape our reality. Jim emphasized that having a growth-focused mindset is foundational for living a limitless life. It's not just about overcoming obstacles, but about seeing opportunities in every challenge. Exactly, Matt. Mindset is the lens through which we view the world. By choosing a positive perspective, we can open ourselves to new possibilities.
Next, we dove into the importance of personal development and lifelong learning. Jim's mantra of working harder on yourself than you do on your job is a powerful reminder that our greatest investment should be in ourselves, whether it's through reading, seeking mentorship, or developing new skills. Continuous self-improvement is key to mastery. Your practical tips on setting aside time for self-growth are invaluable, Jim. It's about making a commitment to yourself.
Absolutely, Matt. It's those small, consistent efforts that lead to significant change over time.
We also explored overcoming failure and building resilience. Jim shared personal stories about setbacks and how they became stepping stones to success. This idea of reframing failure as a learning opportunity is something everyone can benefit from. It's all about persistence and the mindset of viewing challenges as a path to growth.
Yes, embracing failure is crucial. Every failure carries a lesson, and each lesson makes us stronger.
Then we discussed the importance of goal setting and visualization. Jim's approach of setting clear, specific goals and the technique of visualizing success truly emphasizes that goals are not just destinations, they're the map to our limitless lives. When we know what we want and can see it in our minds, we're much more likely to achieve it.
And remember, the journey toward those goals is as important as reaching them. It's about the growth we experience along the way.
Next, we touched on financial wisdom and wealth building. Jim provided simple yet powerful principles on living within one's means, investing wisely, and the importance of financial literacy. This knowledge is crucial for achieving not just financial independence, but also personal freedom.
Financial literacy empowers us to make informed decisions that support our long-term goals and security.
And we couldn't overlook the power of relationships and networking. Jim shared how the people we surround ourselves with impact our potential. Identifying supportive relationships and nurturing those connections is vital for our growth. It's a reminder that we're not alone on this journey.
Absolutely. Building a strong network can provide us with insights, support, and opportunities that we might not find on our own.
Then we explored health and vitality as the foundation for a productive life. Jim emphasized that our physical and mental health must be a priority if we want to achieve anything significant. Simple habits for staying healthy can make a world of difference.
Health fuels our ambitions. When we feel good physically and mentally, we can tackle challenges with vigor.
Finally, we discussed gratitude and humility. Jim's perspective on gratitude as a way to enrich our lives and cultivate a sense of humility is a lesson we can all take to heart. It's about recognizing our blessings and staying grounded no matter how far we go in life.
Gratitude opens our hearts and keeps us connected to what truly matters.
So to everyone watching, I encourage you to implement at least one of these lessons in your daily life. Whether it's starting a gratitude journal, committing to personal development, or reframing your perspective on failure, every small step can lead to profound change. Choose one and see how it transforms your mindset in your life.
And remember, a limitless life is not just about achieving great things, it's about finding joy in the journey, connecting with others, and growing every day.
Jim, thank you once again for your incredible insights and for being such a source of inspiration. Your journey and wisdom resonate with us all, and I know our audience will carry these lessons forward.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure to share these thoughts. Keep striving for that limitless life.
And to our viewers, thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this conversation as enlightening as we did. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to grow, learn, and live a life filled with gratitude and purpose. Until next time, take care.